Under a tree out the front of Cafe Orleans and to the right of Pirates of the Caribbean is a very interesting statue. Now, Disneyland has a lot of statues, it's not out of the ordinary, but this one was certainly different. We call it the Ugly Baby statue. It is uncharacteristically weird. It has no name, no plaque, and search results about the statue land little results. Its face almost looks like an amateur reconstruction, similar to the Ecce Homo incident that occurred in 2012 in Borges, Spain. It clearly has a story. Somebody worked on this. Somebody knew it was here. But getting any information on it is difficult to find and oddly shrouded in mystery. How does something so strange-looking hide in plain sight on one of the most photographed places on the planet, visited by tens of millions of people every year? We wanted to get to the bottom of this. So we started with ourselves. How did we originally come across the Ugly Baby statue? Talking to Luke, my other co-host for ReviewTyme, he recalls the first time he came across the statue was in a Mice Chat article. Disneyland update. Imagination resurfacing. Races down. New to BATUU. Released on May 30th, 2022 by Dusty Sage. Finding it funny, he sent it to me with no context as a joke. With an upcoming trip to Disneyland, we knew we had to seek the statue out, but we'll get to that later. Sure enough, deep into the article, Sage mentions the statue. He provides no name, but refers to it possibly as Disneyland's ugliest statue. This might be our first opportunity to track down more information about the Ugly Baby. Dusty Sage, the founder of Mice Chat, appears to be rather fond of this statue and refers to it over several articles, even requesting further information and lovingly calling it derp. That's a good idea. Saying Ugly Baby thousands of times in this video is going to get old, so let's call the statue Joe. Despite Mice Chat being one of the biggest theme park blogs on the planet, boasting 3 million monthly page views on their Public About Us page, out of the 95 comments on their blog post, only 2 refer to the statue. One is by Disney Freak, with a simple comment that refers to the statue's ugly appearance with no further leads. The other one is by somebody simply known as Brooke, who comments, "That looks like it was made by the manufacturer of the hotel ornaments. They're all poorly made, painted, and just look plain ghastly. LOL." Honestly, I wasn't sure what they meant by this. It could have been a lead, but perhaps it was just a joke. What were the hotel ornaments? Unfortunately, Brooke's account is private, so we can't see further whether they refer to the hotel ornaments anywhere else. Likewise, searching ugly hotel ornaments lands little results. This may have been a joke. Maybe it was a familiar mention to those inside the Disneyland community, but from the outside, it meant very little. So, in terms of Joe's online presence, that's pretty much it. I tried reverse image searches, investigating forums, and other means to find mentions of this ugly statue, but again, to little success. How is this statue such a mystery? I changed tactics. Perhaps we'd find more information by investigating the statue's history. The statue is in a rather visible part of New Orleans Square. It's near a major thoroughfare to the eastern side of Disneyland and near the entrance and exit of Pirates of the Caribbean, one of Disneyland's most known and experienced attractions. With all of that in mind, we should easily be able to create a timeline of the statue's history. Or so I thought. For our timeline, I wanted to figure out some points specifically. What was the first instance of a statue appearing in this position? Was it always the Ugly Baby? And if it wasn't always the Ugly Baby, when did it first appear? If we can get those dates, then we can determine how long it's been hiding in plain sight, why it was added, and perhaps who did it. Now, the last one is a stretch, I know, but it's entirely within the realm of possibility. Let's go all the way back to the start. July 24th, 1966. The date that New Orleans Square was first officially opened. I knew that visuals from this date existed as I had used them before in another video. I was hoping that somewhere in the footage we might be able to spot our elusive statue. And if we could find that, then maybe we would find out whether this was the ugly baby. But unfortunately, again, the statue eluded us. There were many shots that showed the front of Cafe Orleans and of the general location of the statue, but the statue itself was almost always obstructed, or the shot was cut before panning towards it. This would become a common theme for a lot of the footage sourced to try and find more information. It was almost a mystery within our mystery. Another video from around this time shows a Romanian dictator visiting Disneyland in 1970. A rather morbid topic, but likewise, they go past the statue, and it's out of view. It's right there on the left, but they don't show it. The other cameras would have seen it. This one doesn't. Video might not be our best option. It's very time intensive to sit there hoping to spot the statue, and unless the footage was expertly preserved and converted to a high-resolution digital format, even if we did spot the statue in the background, it would be almost impossible to identify its face. So, I turned to images, the baby of video. It's much easier to preserve visual details in a static image, and the potential limitless resolution of film at the time meant our chances of identifying the statue in the background of an image were much higher than video. After a bit of investigating, I finally found something. Bingo. This early postcard design from New Orleans Square clearly shows that a statue has existed in this garden for quite a long time. But when was this photograph taken? Well, to discover whether this was the first instance of proof that a statue in this space existed, we need to date this image. It's distinctly staged from promotional and merchandising purposes, so that means that we can't date it off popular trends of fashion and other accessories of the time. So we turn to the article that mentioned the image. Unfortunately, it doesn't reference the date in which this design was available. Even just a rough date of sale would give us an absolute maximum time frame of the first possible appearance of this statue. Another option was to reverse image search this image, but I could not find any other instance of this image on the internet. Instead, it would just take us back to the article that this was originally featured in. My next go-to was eBay and other stores that specialize in Disneyland postcards. Scouring through lots and listings, nothing matched the design we wanted. And there was likewise nothing under sold and completed listings either. This image in itself was becoming a mystery within our mystery within our mystery. Now, keen viewers may have noticed that looking closely, we can safely confirm that this statue is not our ugly baby. The silhouette is entirely different and looks to be more like an angel than a cherub. So, why is this important? The timeline. We want to determine how long a statue has existed in this space, even if it's not our ugly baby, because if we can find out the significance, and maybe that would determine why the face is the way that it is. In investigations, information is always important. Without any further information on the postcard, our next best option is to look at the information the image itself provides us. The image had to have been taken somewhere between 1966 and 1972, as Cafe Orleans is referred to as Creole Cafe, which was the original name of this location. Considering this broad time frame, we need to narrow it down. I brought this image to the attention of Luke, our resident researcher, and asked whether he had any further insight about the image. He said to leave it with him, as he had several ideas but needed evidence to narrow them down. Whilst he did this, I took a rather unconventional approach. Around the image were several pieces of foliage, including the tree itself behind the statue. Referencing the opening day video, if the foliage on the balconies is natural, then it points towards this image being taken very close to opening day. The tree itself is known as a Port Jackson fig, or rusty fig. Native to Australia, these are fast-growing trees with an average maximum height of 35 feet, which is roughly the size of a full-sized three-story building. Full-sized being important here. Like most buildings in Disneyland, New Orleans Square uses forced perspective to increase the visual appearance of its height. The first and second floors are accessible, but the third floor of most buildings in New Orleans Square appear to be just for show. With this in mind, we can assume that the buildings are less than the usual 35-foot three-story buildings that you would find elsewhere, but slightly taller than the average 20-foot two-story buildings. This places the peak of the building at around 25 to 30 feet. Tree growth follows a cumulative growth curve where during maturity, the tree will grow exponentially until it decelerates towards its maximum height. As the tree still has 10 feet to go, we can safely assume that it's within its maturity phase, so we would see major growth differences in growth if the picture was taken towards the later end of our broad 1966 to 1972 possible time frame. This helps to narrow it down, but then Luke returned with a smoking gun. This picture, taken in 1967, shows that by 1967, when Pirates of the Caribbean first opened, both lampposts featured within the image had signage on them. That means that our postcard had to have been taken within the opening year of New Orleans Square. As it stands, this is the earliest image that provides evidence of a statue being in that position. Our ugly baby mystery goes back all the way to when Walt Disney was in the parks. But this isn't our statue. So when did this angel-like figure change to become either Joe or a different cherub-like statue? This image, dated 1968, provides us a small glimpse of a statue in the same position. It's difficult to determine what the statue is, but I'm fairly confident that it's very similar to the one found in the aforementioned postcard. So that statue remained there for a little bit longer than just opening year. I then investigated with simple Google searches: New Orleans Square 1970s, 1980s, 1990s. Not much came up. So I turned to video again. I knew this wouldn't be the best, but I have watched and scoured through more home videos of Disneyland than I care to admit. I got close to getting some more information in this one video by the British Pathé, which shows half the statue, but it's really difficult to make out what this is. It was frustrating. I could spend days or even weeks scouring through videos, but ultimately, we had our starting position, and we needed to move on to find out when Joe came to be. So, let's skip forward to our current century. I watched a few videos from the 2000s. A lot ignore or skip this area. But this was until I came across New Orleans Square at Disneyland, bracket 2007, bracket by WDW News Today. It was a simple walkthrough of the land, and my hopes were high. Sure enough, at 2 minutes in, bingo. Since 2007, we can confirm that the baby statue exists, but was it our Joe? Again, I turn to images. This one from 2012 shows the baby statue, but its face is odd, but it's not like Joe. Though it definitely is something, we needed to look closer. That's when I stumbled upon davelandweb.com. This website was owned and operated by Dave DeCaro, a photographer with a keen interest in photographing and documenting Disneyland over the ages. This website was invaluable. It had images not properly indexed by web search engines such as Google. Under New Orleans Square, there are plenty of images from 1968, and sure enough, Dave has images of the statue. We can confirm that as of 1968, the statue was still the angel-like figure. Unfortunately, their website has a massive gap between 1968 and 2000s, but they did have a section specifically dedicated to Cafe Orleans, which gave us our best lead yet. As of February 2011, the baby was not ugly. Despite some rather intense erosion on upper parts of the statue, the rest of it was in good condition. This was a great sign and led us closer to finding the point in which this statue either was replaced or became Joe. So, it was back to snooping. But a development arose. One I wasn't expecting, and honestly didn't even consider when starting this video. I was looking for more images of the ugly baby than those that were just images we had taken or ones by Dusty Sage. There was a recent Mice Chat update about New Orleans Square that had referenced a statue within its text, so I gave it a read and discovered that Joe was gone. Sometime before February of 2023, it had been replaced. This was a major blow to our investigation. Was there even a point to this video anymore? Part of the fun was that this statue was so outrageous that we wanted to put it on the map. But now it's gone, replaced with a cherub playing the lute. Funnily enough, I found an almost identical statue located in Los Angeles. It was being sold by Anessa Stewart's Antiques and Interiors. I can't confirm it's the same one, but Disneyland has been known to purchase antiques to place them within their park. And the listing still being up may have been a mistake. I sent them an email to confirm whether it was still available, but I am yet to hear back. So if I don't get it by the time this video is done, I'll definitely post it on our socials. 6 pages of writing, hours of work. The ugly baby mystery still wasn't solved, but it did have an end. It didn't feel right to abandon this journey. Others may not be able to enjoy Joe for themselves, but at least I could tell this statue's story. So I persisted, and that persistence paid off. Random Land is a creator I heavily admire. Their content helped to inspire a lot of insight-style videos across this channel, and somehow I had missed a video of theirs on this exact statue. 7 years ago, and with 79,000 views at 6 minutes and 47 seconds, he features the baby. It's in an unbelievable state, but this footage is invaluable. The statue has deteriorated so much more than the images from Daveland in 2011, which was only 4 years before this video. And with this, we can safely conclude why Joe existed in the first place. It was a patch job. The deteriorated statue and the ugly baby are the same thing. Somebody somewhere in Disney recognized that this baby needed repair. Perhaps it was an amateur who took it upon themselves as a niche little job to put their mark on the park, or it was a professional with limited time to work on the job. Nonetheless, one mystery was solved. The ugly baby was not a replacement or an original. It was the same cherub statue from 2011 that slowly deteriorated over time and was repaired with poor results. And that work appears to have been done around 2019, thanks to video logging, also known as vlogs. They seem omnipotent now, but vlogs haven't always been popular. They've grown in appeal over the years, slowly rising from 2010 if you look at Google Trends until 2019, where they saw a massive surge in popularity. This led to the creation of popular channels such as Tim Tracker and Fresh Baked Disney. Whilst their appeal may vary from person to person, you can't understate their historical significance when these content creators are visiting the parks almost every week and sometimes every day. If there's a good timeline for the ugly baby mystery, it's within Fresh Baked Disney. But I'm only human, and with 5,300 videos across the last decade of Fresh Baked's channel, I simply don't have the time to view all of them. But by handpicking videos, I did come to some conclusions. This video by Fresh Baked Disney shows the statue in the background. It's from May of 2019, and whilst the image isn't perfect, we can see the cheeks are rather puffy, and the eyes look welted, which matches up with our ugly baby. Thankfully, there's another video from around this time by Alex the Historian. Filmed in 4K, they walk through New Orleans Square, and a familiar friend appears in the background. It's not perfect, but similarly, it does match the puffy face of the ugly baby, and it doesn't appear deteriorated. I think this is our best evidence that the ugly baby has existed since around 2019. So sometime between 2015 and 2019, the patch job was done. So, what have we learned from all this? Since New Orleans Square opened, this spot has contained a statue. Sometime either before or during the early 2000s, that changed to become a cherub. For unknown reasons, that cherub statue began to deteriorate, and around 2019, it was replaced with a poor reconstruction that we've dubbed the ugly baby. Joe has a distinct puffy appearance with eyes that almost look drunk. And then sometime between mid-2022 and early 2023, Disneyland cast Joe into history. The baby vanished and was replaced with a cherub playing the lute that you possibly can buy at the moment from an antique store in Los Angeles. We are proud to have a picture with this statue. It's a part of Disneyland history and shows that sometimes even the most bizarre of things are capable of hiding in plain sight. As we mentioned at the beginning of this video, millions of people visit Disneyland every year. It is one of the most photographed places on the planet, and this statue remained a mystery, existed in plain sight for half a decade, requiring days of investigation to find even the slightest information of something that exists in one of the most popular theme parks in the world. And we weren't able to find any conclusive evidence as to who worked on this or why it was deemed reasonable to try and repair it in the first place. It remains a mystery. But hopefully, this video helps bring this issue to light so that we can conclude Joe's story. But until then, we admire what was, the answers that we have, the journey along the way. And we continue to ask, where did he come from? Where did he go? Where did he come from? Cotton-eyed Joe.